Hey there folks, welcome to another edition of Time About the Movies. We're entering the month of November 1989. It's the weekend of November 3rd, and we've got 4 of the 5 movies to look at today. I unfortunately couldn't find any footage from For All Mankind, so that one unfortunately we're not going to be able to talk about, but I do know that it's a National Geographic documentary. It made it to theaters. There's no trailer for it, so I can't really comment on it because I haven't seen it. But we do have 4 other movies to look at, and we're going to start off with John Larroquette and Bronson Pinchot in the comedy Second Sight.
The Second Sight detective agency is on the job, and this case is all but solved. Get the car, boys.
John Larroquette, an old-fashioned investigator.
We're detectives. We'll detect.
Bronson Pinchot, a new-age psychic.
Your, blood pressure is way up. And your sperm count is way down.
The Second Sight detective agency has everything it needs to fight crime.
Bobby is a power psychic.
A what?
He reads minds.
He's clairvoyant,
The thief is in this room.
telepathic,
She's not pregnant.
and psychokinetic.
Your back hurts, so his back hurts. Yeah, we'll tell the amazing Randy he's got the wrong side.
He'd make the perfect detective if only he could see where he was going.
Straight ahead, babe. I can't go straight ahead, babe. There's a building right there. Straight ahead, babe. I can't go straight ahead, babe. There's a building right there.
John Larroquette,
Well, as you can see, we're very weird.
Bronson Pinchot,
I want to be nice.
Second Sight.
I see a comedy in your future.
You know, for a movie that had 2 of the biggest stars on television at the time, John Larroquette, who had won 4 straight Emmys for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Comedy Series for his work on Night Court, and then Bronson Pinchot, who was the star of Perfect Strangers, you would have thought that this movie probably would have done better, but this was one of those movies that was affected by the writer's strike of 1988. It was a movie that had a script written by 2 people who wrote critically acclaimed works, Patricia Resnick, who wrote 9 to 5, and Tom Schulman, who would win an Oscar later in a couple of months for his work on Dead Poets Society. And like I said, you had Larroquette and Bronson Pinchot in this. You also had Shirley MacLaine working on the character of Bronson Pinchot, because she's she, for some reason, I think from what I'm reading here is that she's well known for her beliefs in New Age spirituality and reincarnation. So I guess Bronson Pinchot went to her to get some assistance from these psychics to maybe fit this role more. That's what I'm reading off of Wikipedia, but yeah, the movie here just really, I don't know if this movie really wants to know what it's trying to be. Like, it's trying to be this high-concept comedy because you see in the trailer that Bronson Pinchot has these magical powers that go along with his psychic abilities, and it's just, the movie doesn't really explain it all that well. The script, for the most part, is pretty lackluster, and like I said, you can tell that this movie was heavily affected by the strike of '88, but because, you know, most of these movies did a pretty good job of keeping the fact that they were being produced in production during the strike, but they weren't able to really completely go off the rails. This movie feels like it really completely fell off the rails, and you can tell there was just so much here that they tried to make work here, but it just really didn't work all the way in the end. So, yeah, Second Sight was not a good movie. And you notice in the trailer that I did cut it off because, once again, I had to get that trailer from Warner Archive, and the last 15 seconds, those ads came up, so I had to go to another trailer to get to the last part of that trailer, so should have said that in the beginning. But anyway, yeah, Second Sight was not a very good movie. That's pretty much all I want to say about that one. But let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is The Phantom of the Opera, starring Robert Englund.
Some stories have so great a power that with each new generation, they are reborn.
There's a feeling, a passion.
But it had to come from somewhere. This was no phantom. Ghosts do not skin their victims. This is the work of an artist. We will make music that the world will love forever. Take the last step to me. You are the angel. You are my voice.
I feel him and I hear him. I don't want this feeling ever to go away.
The Phantom of the Opera. The all-time horror classic.
The Phantom is real. It has a name.
Is now a major motion picture.
You love the music.
I am the music.
A lot of people are dead, Mr. Dutton, and the murderer is in your house. Someone is doing murder in Christine Day's name.
Our souls are one.
No!
Robert Englund is
You're him, aren't you?
the Phantom of the Opera. The Phantom of the Opera. Only love and music are forever.
Of course, it doesn't help when Freddy Krueger is being the main promotional piece for this movie. There are literally posters, and the Blu-ray for this actually has Robert Englund in the Freddy Krueger makeup. It says, Robert Englund was Freddy, now he's the Phantom of the Opera, and it's like, okay, that's not really the way you want to sell this movie. Especially since the Phantom of the Opera by Andrew Lloyd Webber was already out at this point, and it was a much bigger success on Broadway. It would have its own movie adaptation in the 2000s, but we will get to that one when we get to that one. But this one is an updated, gorier version of the classic story by Gaston Leroux. I think I read the name right. Gaston Leroux. And, of course, stars Robert Englund as the Phantom. And this could have been something interesting. The director of this, Dwight Little, did the last Halloween movie, Halloween 4, The Revenge of Michael Myers. He also would later go on to direct movies such as Marked for Death, Free Willy 2, Murder at 1600, and, yeah, the movie just doesn't work. I mean, it's not a bad-looking movie. It is visually impressive, and I'll give it to Robert Englund. He's doing the best he can from the little bit of this trailer that I see here. I think he is trying his best to make this work. But, yeah, like I said, the movie, I think, was just trying way too hard to sell you another Nightmare on Elm Street type movie, except there's no there isn't that comedy that was there in the later Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and it just didn't work. It just doesn't work from what I see here. So, like, when the alternate title cover of this film is Freddy the Musical, there's a huge problem here. So that's my thoughts on the Robert Englund Phantom of the Opera. Very forgettable movie. Englund's trying his best, but it just doesn't work. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie. And the next movie is another horror film called After Midnight.
Go ahead. Scare me.
Are you afraid of the house?
I thought you said there's nothing to worry about.
I don't like this.
Let's get out of here. I'm all alone here, and I don't think this guy's kidding around.
What are you afraid of?
I wonder if he really needs hedge clippers to chop off their heads.
Come and get me.
Alex!
Help me!
Do it!
Are you ready to be scared?
After Midnight was another movie that was trying to be a horror anthology, much like Creepshow and Dead of Night, and then later on, better examples, Tales from the Dark Side. And the writers of this movie are Ken and Jim Wheats. They also wrote Silent Scream, they wrote Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, and they also wrote Fly 2. But, yeah, despite a pretty solid cast in this one, you got Mark Helgenberger in one of her early roles, Mark McClure from the Superman movies, Alan Rosenberg from L.A. Law, Pamela Segal, who would later go on to be a prolific voice actor and also star in Better Things. The movie itself just really isn't all that inspiring. Like, it doesn't really do enough to make it stand out. These stories that they're telling here, they're kind of generic stories. They're generic little stories here. And, like, movies like Creepshow, another one I didn't bring up, the Twilight Zone movie, that's the one I wanted to bring up before. I think they did a better job of creating these solid anthology stories, these horror anthology stories. But watching this movie, it just really doesn't feel like they were really trying their best here. I think they just wanted to make another Creepshow or another Twilight Zone movie, and it just doesn't work in the end. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about After Midnight. I think someone said it best on here. It's more boring than frightening. So, let's go ahead and move on to the last movie. And the last movie is... I literally had to look it up because I completely forgot about it. It's Bloodhounds of Broadway.
How thrilling!
When the champagne was cold,
Shouldn't have.
Oh, yes.
and the Thames was red hot.
Do you always carry weenies with you?
I know 24-hour chapel over in Hackensack where you don't even need a blood test.
It was a time to see old friends.
Has Hortense Hathaway arrived yet?
I'm sure I wouldn't know.
Better mingle. I'm saving myself for our hostess tonight.
Can I buy you a drink?
No, you may not.
And make some new ones.
I must have your body. God, you're beautiful.
Blow off, dwarf.
Of course.
What business are you in?
Monkeys. Saint.
Oh, this is a pickle. I don't know anything about it.
What a night this is turning into.
Matt Dillon.
Call me Regret.
Jennifer Grey.
You're gonna forget him.
Julie Haggerty.
My friends call me Harriet.
Rutger Hauer.
Keep the change.
Madonna.
You don't say.
Isai Morales.
Even society dames has been hot for me.
Anita Morris.
You like it nasty?
And Randy Quaid.
Stop right there.
Bloodhounds of Broadway.
Yeah, if your director croaks before the movie actually opens, chances are this isn't going to end well if the studio is recutting it for you. No joke, the director of this movie, Howard Brookmer, actually died almost a year before this movie came out, and it was just like, okay. Chances are this is probably not going to end well, although sometimes it does work. But yeah, this definitely doesn't work. This is an ensemble period comedy from the 1920s. It takes place on New Year's Eve. It has really one of the most talented young casts you'll ever see. You've got Matt Dillon, Jennifer Grey, you've got Julie Haggerty, you got Rutger Hauer, Madonna, Isai Morales, Randy Quaid, Steve Buscemi, Fisher Stevens, Alan Ruck. I mean, this is not a bad cast at all, but again, it's one of those movies where they're just really not given a whole lot to do here. It's a very formulaic period piece movie that doesn't really do anything that makes it stand out here. And like I said, this is a great cast. They've been in much better movies than this, but you just really don't have a whole lot here to work with. I mean, they try their best, but it just doesn't come together. And like I said, this was a movie that was heavily recut by the studio after the director died, so there's really not a whole lot they could have done here to make this work, except reshoot this movie with a better script and a better director. But it is what it is, and unfortunately, it's not a very good movie, and one that's been largely forgotten over time. And unfortunately, we never will get to see a better cut of this movie, which I think a better cut of this movie maybe could have saved it, but it just doesn't work. It's a real mess of a movie, a real forgettable mess of a film. Bloodhounds of Broadway, you probably never even heard about it before I even talked about it, and you'll probably never hear about it again afterwards. So, there you go. That's Bloodhounds of Broadway for you. I was literally about to stop recording when I saw another movie on that list that I probably should have looked at on the last episode. So let me go ahead and talk about the movie Dad. Let's go ahead and show you the trailer real quick, and then we'll come back.
John Tremont is coming home.
It's really be sick if you're here.
See, Mom, that's why you're the best. Not many people would have gone for guilt in your situation.
To meet a man he hardly knows.
Hello, Dad.
I'm going to be staying here a few days.
Mother doesn't like me to wear this. Thinks I look too tough. Like Johnny Cash.
What do you and Mom do around here for fun?
I-20.
Boy, this really is too much fun for one evening.
I just wanted to say how happy I am to see the family together.
It's a thrill for me, too. Are you finished? My chicken's getting cold.
Terrific for him, John.
Hey, he's been good for me, too.
No, Johnny, something's wrong.
He has to learn what it means to be a son.
Where am I, Johnny?
You're in a hospital, Dad.
I think I could have guessed that one.
and a father.
Why was making money always more important to you than me or Mom? You said you wanted to talk.
We simply cannot hold hospital beds for patients who cannot profit from medical care.
How would we know? He's never gotten any medical care.
It's very hard, I realize, for children to understand that their parents have gotten old.
Something has happened to him. This man is not your father.
Since I got out of the hospital, I have had such fun.
Well, whatever's going on with Dad, I think it's pretty terrific.
This is working. I'm beginning to feel very Japanese.
He keeps coming into my bed at night. He won't leave me alone. You know, when your father gets excited, police, priests, prayers, nothing is going to stop him. Oh, grow up.
Amblin Entertainment presents Jack Lemmon, Ted Danson, Olivia Dukakis, Kathy Baker, and Ethan Hawke. The greatest man John Tremont ever met was the first one. Dad.
Yeah, this came out last week, and I literally just forgot about it because I couldn't find it on the actual. It's because, like I said before, like I'm on Box Office Mojo looking for most of these movies. That was not on the list for October 27th. If it was, I really. And now I'm looking at now, it was there, and I didn't even notice it. So, yeah, I blame myself for that. And there was actually a couple of other movies there that I probably should have gotten to, but this one is the most notable one that I missed out on. So, if we do get a chance, if there's a week when there's nothing there, I'll look at Kill Me Again and Animal Behavior, because that was the other two movies that on that list that I didn't look at. But anyway, Dad. This is directed by Gary David Goldberg, who is best known for creating classic TV shows like Family Ties and Spin City. This was his first feature film effort, and this came mere months after Family Ties had ended. And for the most part, there's nothing really wrong with Dad on the whole. The cast here is great. I think Jack Lemmon is given one of his best performances in this movie. He's really great here. Ted Danson's very good here, as well as Ethan Hawke. They work off each other really well as these three generations of fathers and sons. There are nice moments to it. It doesn't get too sappy, but there are definitely moments where they do overuse the emotional moments a bit. The script itself, it's a little too generic. Like I said, it's something we've seen done over and over again, much better. The movie doesn't really do anything new with it, but it's not. This is mostly a harmless movie. It does have its moments. The cast, I think, makes it work. I do also like that the makeup on Jack Lemmon doesn't look too bad, even though they're trying to make him look like a really old guy. But the makeup work here is actually not that bad. I gotta give him a lot of credit for that. It has, like I said, it has its moments, has a good cast to work off of, but there's nothing about it that makes it too interesting or exciting. It's a nice little movie, but not one I'd rush out again to see again. So, that's my thoughts on Dad. And with that said, that's going to wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. Tomorrow, we take a look at the weekend of November 10th. Lots of movies came out. I'm looking at the list here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. About 9 movies to look at, including some notable films. We've got Staying Together. We've got Best of the Best. Christopher Walken in Communion. Crack House. Kenneth Branagh's first directorial outing with Henry V. The Toxic Avenger Part 3. The Last Temptation of Toxie. 10 Little Indians. The Oscar winner, My Left Foot. And we also have Survival Quest. So, like I said, that's 9. That's actually 9 movies we've got to. Let me double check here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 movies here. I'll let you see for yourself so you can see what I'm talking about. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 new movies to look at next time around. It's going to be a pretty long show, so that'll be tons of fun to do tomorrow. So thank you guys for watching, and as always, if you want to see more videos like this, check out the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for the next episode. So until then, take care.